Hello, everybody. Mike Foltz here, coming at you again with a message with regard to 2026 unit renewal here in the Cascade Pacific Council. Quick note, if you are a unit or working with a unit here in the Cascade Pacific Council, the information I'm going to provide to you here today about unit renewal process 2026 is going to apply to you. You may have been pointed to this information by somebody else, a district commissioner or someone other than that, as here's some information to help you along the way. That's great. And this definitely applies to our process that we're going through here in the CPC and the first few months of 2026. If you are outside of the Cascade Pacific Council, your mileage may vary on how much of this is going to apply to you. You're welcome to come along for the ride and listen to what I've got to say. And some of this might be very applicable, some of it might not. So let's dive right in and talk about how we're going to get through the unit renewal process here in early 2026. A little bit of background for those who have never done this before. This is a process that used to be known as charter renewal or recharter. Fundamentally, it is a two-part process. The first part is getting in and auditing our unit roster. And this is true of Cub Scout packs, troops, ships, crews, explorer posts, everything. We're going through and we're making sure that our roster for our units is accurate and correct. The second part is every year we go back to our charter organization for each unit, or each set of units, if you will, and we make sure that they want to continue scouting with us. They want to continue supporting us and being part of our program. So we have to go back to our charter organizations and ask kindly, would you like to continue sponsoring us, please? And you get those signatures, and that's good for another 12 months, essentially. In terms of your roster audit, there are a couple of priorities, and I would say the very first priority is your youth membership. You need to make sure that you have the youth that need to be on the roster there, and this is an opportunity to sort of scrub and clean those youth members that are no longer with your troop or your pack, or those that have moved on or stepped back or whatever it is. Somewhat secondary is also the adult roster. And we'll talk about some of the details this year for what you do need to get right on the adult roster. It's not going to hurt you too much to have an adult that is, trained and able to work with scouts and help the unit, troop, pack, crew, ship, whatever you have. But if they're not fully participating, it never hurts to have them on the roster as long as they're willing to be registered. So that's why I put that as a secondary priority. And we'll get to some of those key things first off. Most importantly, please do your best throughout this process to get the information in the system correct. This is our real opportunity once a year to really clean things out, scrub up our roster, make sure it's correct and accurate, and then we can move forward. It is recommended as best you can to get the youth members in as soon as you can, even before you start the renewal process. It's easier to get applications done first before you even open the tool. Opening the renewal tool has a way of sort of locking some things in, especially adults. And it's true with youth. There are hooks that you can add people with applications. It is challenging. It's kind of a mess. Just don't bother. Just go straight to the source, get those applications in, get them clean, get them done, watch them come in, and then move on to the next thing. And then the other thing I want to encourage everyone to do is to be absolutely certain that your key 3 adult volunteers for the unit or units that you're working with are absolutely correct. If you've had a new charter organization representative come in, or a new scoutmaster, a new cub master, a new committee chair, get those things sorted out first with whatever it takes. If it's an adult application or if the COR just needs to move somebody around, get that done as soon as possible. And we'll talk about why that's the case in a little bit, okay? So those are sort of the overarching, what is this thing? For those of you who've done this before, the tool is going to be probably nearly identical to what we've seen last year. The little requirements that we have in place put on us is going to be different. We'll talk a lot about that. But know that the tool is in the same location with the same credentials and all of those things. If you did it last year, it's going to be very, very similar from the perspective of getting into the renewal tool and actually saying, yes, this is all correct, please submit. Okay, so got ahead of myself. Individual renewal, please remember, an individual, either a youth or adult's renewal status with BSA, Scouting America, is now separated from unit renewal. As you get into unit renewal, you do need to make sure that the individual members that you are bringing with you to the next charter period, youth or adults, need to be valid. They need to be opted in to continue. They should be paid and done. You should have that green check mark, ideally before you submit. That's the best case program. It is still part of the my.scouting.org tool set under your unit, and under the organization manager, you will find a unit renewal link. If you're on a PC on a desktop, you'll find that on the left side menu. Who can actually access this tool? It's the same as last year. The individual that's handling the renewal process needs to be either one of the Key 3 members of your unit or assigned the Key 3 delegate benefits, right? The responsibilities of being a Key 3 delegate. So you can delegate somebody to do this, a committee member, a den leader, an assistant scoutmaster. But typically what I found is most of our volunteers handling these, at least in Pacific Trail District, are committee chairs, unit leaders, and an occasional charter organization representative. So you can delegate it to your treasurer if that's what you need to do. But most folks that are doing it are part of that Key 3 grouping. Also, before I go on, I want to say, and I want to leave it here on the slide deck, because it's always true every year, please be patient with this tool. Over the years, we've found and resolved a lot of the issues that have come up, but it's inevitable that we're going to find bugs or challenges or issues. Your unit status might get stuck in a place. Do not hesitate to reach out to your district commissioner. If you're in Pacific Trail, that's me. Hi, I'm Mike. If you're in a different district, we'll have a list on a different document that I'll share with you in just a bit. You have a district commissioner you can reach out to and ask questions. You also have paid staff and a district executive who can probably point you in the right direction. And if all else fails, you can reach out directly to Sherry Burns, our council registrar. She is very, very, very busy. So I would encourage you to reach out to your volunteer staff first to see if they know the answer to what you're seeing. Please be patient. Please recognize this is a tool that has been evolving for a couple of years now. All right, what can we do right now, even before we get into the tool set and start to go through the process? As I mentioned, the first thing you should really be doing is what I call the roster audit. Go into your unit roster. I recommend going to the my.scouting.org page and opening up your unit's tools and going to the roster and just looking at who is currently registered on your roster. Take a look at what's on those right-hand columns for opting out, and if they have expiration dates, all those sorts of things. You can see if a youth member has aged out, turned 18, and they have not filled out, say, an adult application to continue as part of the troop would be a good example. Or if you've had Cub Scouts that have aged out of the program and didn't join a troop, that particular scout is now 12 years old. Those are notes you should probably be taking and saying, oh yes, we should probably make sure they are removed from the roster. Do not use Scout Book for this. Is my recommendation that I give to people. This is especially true with the classic Scout Book. I think Scout Book Plus is a little bit better, a little bit more closer tied to the actual my.scouting.org database. I still don't trust it. Okay, that's just my thing. I always want to encourage people to go to the my.scouting.org roster tool for their unit. That is, for me, the absolute source of correct information for what is in your unit right now, who is registered. Additionally, you're going to want to very soon look at the Youth Protection / Safeguarding Youth agent report in the training tools for your unit. It's Training Manager, actually, is the name of the tool. If you have any adult leaders that look like they're going to have that thing expire let's just say before April 1st, 2026, if they're expiring before April 1st, 2026, you need to start talking to those folks, whoever they are in your volunteer team, and say, hey, it's time to make sure you renew your status here with now it's Safeguarding Youth. You can't even take YPT anymore. Every adult volunteer in your unit, no exceptions. The only possible exception will be the executive officer, but they don't have to take YPT anyway, usually, unless they have a different role. Every adult volunteer must have a valid either youth protection training or safeguarding youth training that is valid through April 1st, 2026. Yes, this is a change from last year. We'll get back to that in just a minute here. Additionally, as you're going through your roster audit, get any outstanding youth membership issues cleared up. Is there a youth that's participating with your unit, but they're not registered? Get that done. Get that youth into your unit, registered, clicked in, and correctly set up. And also take a look to verify your critical adult volunteers are registered or they're in the right positions, especially your key 3, right? I would definitely look at, do you have the right number of people, minimum people for committee chairs? In a Cub Scout pack, you must have at least 1 minimum den leader, things like that, right? Get all that done and taken care of. All right, moving on. I mentioned youth protection training, safeguarding youth. There was a policy last year we had where we required everyone to have their YPT valid through the entire duration of the charter term. We can't do that this year because in May of 2025, National Council released Safeguarding Youth Training, which is an excellent training. If you haven't done it yet, you totally should. However, that expires after 12 months when you take it, which is fine. The way that Safeguarding Youth training is going to work is it's a 12-month ping pong. You take the full training the first time, and I'm told 12 months later you get to take an annual refresher. My thesis on this is going to be a quick couple videos, a quick quiz. You remember all this stuff, great. There's another 12 months, and then after that 12 months you'll be back to taking the full course yet again. So every 24 months you'll be taking the full course, but in between that 12 months, you'll be taking a little refresher. So given that the initial certificate expires for SYT after 12 months, we can't require people to be valid through the entire charter process. It's just not feasible. It's not logistically possible. So we're backing off on that. We're going with the national policy. You have to have a valid either youth protection training or safeguarding youth training that is valid through April 1st, 2026, right through the process. I definitely encourage all of your volunteers, your adults, to take Safeguarding Youth training. It's a good training. It's challenging. It's thought-provoking, but it's one of the things that's going to keep our youth safe year after year, and we need to have people get on board on that one. I'll take a brief aside here. This isn't really related to Unit Renewal, but it's important to get it out there. Here in Cascade Pacific Council, we have the powers that be have brought back everybody's youth protection training, and it's going to be expiring if you have not taken Safeguarding Youth. Your YPT will be expiring on May 31st, 2026. So you need to take Safeguarding Youth training before June 1st, 2026 if you wish to continue as a volunteer in Cascade Pacific Council. And that's going to be a hard bar, and that's going to be dealt with after Unit Renewal. It's just a tidbit to put that into place and encourage anybody in units to go ahead and take Safeguarding Youth training, get it done, get it out of the way. So the training doesn't need to remain valid for the entire 12-month calendar period, or 12-month run of your new renewal for 2026. So that is something that I've received a lot of questions about. For right now, we're just going to go with the baseline national standard, which is you have to have your YPT or your SYT valid through April 1st, 2026. I hope that's clear. Last year, we had an additional training requirement that all Unit Key 3 leaders must be fully position-specific trained. That requirement remains for 2026. So all those charter organization representatives, committee chairs, and unit leaders include Cub Masters, Scout Masters, Venture Crew Advisors, Sea Scout Skippers, and I think Explorer Post is an advisor role. That remains. The additional requirement that is, it's actually a really good requirement, and it's a good one for us to strive for, and we're going to get there, is all of our direct contact unit volunteers must also be fully trained for their positions. And I know what you're thinking, probably, Mike, what's a direct contact volunteer? We'll get to that in just a second. I want to note that if your unit is submitted and all of the direct contact unit volunteers are not fully trained, it's not going to be a hard error. This is going to be enforced similarly to the Key 3 volunteer training last year by our volunteers. We're going to come and tap on your door and say, hey, by the way, this Assistant Scoutmaster didn't finish all their training. How are we going to get there from here? Be aware of that. It's very critical. Okay. Direct contact leaders. There's a list right here for you. Den leaders, cub masters and assistants, scout masters and their assistants, advisors, associate advisors, skippers and mates for Sea Scout ships, and then I believe explorer posts are advisors and associate advisors. Those are all considered direct contact leaders. I want to take a special note and mention that den leaders include all stripe of den leaders from Tiger, Weebelow's Arrow of Light, is what I've been told. So all of those positions need to be fully position specific trained if you have volunteers in those roles, and you should, before April 1st, 2026. For Cub Scout packs, all those trainings can be done online in your pajamas at 2 in the morning, and everyone will be happy. It'll be great. Don't worry about it. The remainder have potentially some in-person trainings that we need to be concerned about, and the big challenge is our assistant scoutmasters, and maybe a couple scoutmasters, but usually it's assistant scoutmasters that need to do introduction to outdoor leadership skills training, and that is an in-person only outdoor training. And we have a couple of scheduled trainings coming up. If you have assistant scoutmasters in your troop that need to get that done, look up on the council calendar. There's a really big training happening at Camp Lewis up outside of Battleground. I think they're looking at slots for almost 80 people, if I remember right. Get folks signed up for that. If that doesn't work, look ahead. If you submit your renewal and either everybody's trained or anybody who's not trained is signed up and ready to go to an IOLS and they have it on their calendar, that we will count that. That is acceptable to us, that this one assistant scoutmaster, as an example, is going to be at Camp Lewis. You're going to submit your renewal before the thing potentially, but they're going to go there and get trained. We're okay with that. We're willing to work with you. What we can't have is an assistant scoutmaster or a scoutmaster that is just not willing to get trained. That's unacceptable, and that's coming from absolutely the top of our council, volunteers and professionals. The same is true for our venture crews, our ships, and our posts. All those positions need to be fully position-specific trained. For the most part, we don't have as many issues with those roles. They have some similar requirements, as I understand it, but it's a little bit, people seem to be more fundamentally encouraged to go and get those trainings. There are fewer of them, which might be helpful. I'm not sure. One of the things I wanted to mention here, if you run your training report for your unit and you see some of your direct contact leaders that are weirdly not trained and it looks like they should be fully trained, there is one thing that has been a gotcha that we've noticed for all of our direct contact leaders. Weather hazards training has been a weird little bugaboo for the past couple of years. Every direct contact leader must have weather hazards training. And what happened recently, about a year ago, I think it was, is that training, the code is SCO_800, now expires every 2 years. And we saw a fairly decent rash of people about a year ago, it was beginning of 2025, where National implemented, if I'm recalling this correctly, the 2-year expiration of that, very similar to youth protection training. And all of a sudden, a lot of people were not trained. So go through that and look for that under mandatory training column, SCO 800, and that should be, if it's in the to-do line, that should be a trigger to say, they need to go find weather hazards training. It is online. It takes about 30 minutes. It's a real simple training. They can go get that done, usually really quickly. So those are some of the challenges we have, but we want to make sure we get all of our direct contact leaders trained because it makes for a better program, and we will see more growth and excitement in our scouting community. Okay, another slight change from last year. We have growth plans again. There is a really good template for a growth plan if your unit needs it, and I will have that pointed to you in the description of this, along with the slides that I'm presenting here and all the other collateral. There is an increase in the minimum number of primary youth registered members in any primary program. I'm talking about Cub Scout packs and Scouts BSA troops. It used to be 5, now it's going to be 10. If you have fewer than 10 primary registered youth members in your Cub Scout pack or in your Scouts BSA troop, you will need to complete, sign, and submit a growth plan. This is to encourage us to bolster our numbers up to at least 10 for any of those units. Cruise ships and posts, it's going to be 5 is my understanding. I'm not sure about posts, but I'm pretty sure. Here in Pacific Trail, we have a handful of crews and one Sea Scout ship. If you have at least 5 primary registered youth members, and for those older youth programs, that includes venturing participants, by the way, then you're good. You don't need to submit a growth plan. Anything below that, you need a growth plan. This ideally should be submitted prior to submitting your electronic unit renewal. And that should be signed, scanned, ideally, and delivered to your district commissioner. I have accepted paper copies. I've accepted photos in the past. Ideally, scan it to a PDF, okay? Charter agreements, the annual charter agreement document, again, must be completed. This needs to be completed one document per charter organization, not necessarily per each individual unit. So if a charter organization has a Cub Scout pack, 2 troops, and a crew that's under their umbrella, only one charter agreement needs to be completed for 2026. So work with your partner units, if you will, your brothers and sisters in scouting, and figure out who's going to go to the charter organization and get that signed and done. It doesn't really matter which unit does it, but some unit should get it, and it should list at the top all the units that are under that charter organization. Ideally, again, complete this and submit it to your district commissioner before you submit your electronic renewal. That is ideal. And then submit those fully signed agreements to your district commissioner. If you are in Pacific Trail, that's me. If you are in Timberline, for example, send those to Katie Payton. She's going to accept those and be really happy. I don't need them. Code of conduct, another thing that we saw last year that is coming back again. Each unit is required to complete, sign, and submit a code of conduct. There is a code of conduct form that all you have to do is fill it out and sign it. I think it's pretty much the same as last year. Again, ideally, this is sent to your district commissioner before submitting your electronic unit renewal. Fill it out, sign it, get it signed and scanned, and send it to your district commissioner. Again, if you're in Pacific Trail, that's me. I don't need code of conducts from River's Edge. Send those to David Carroll. Okay, so get those code of conducts in. And again, with your adult volunteer positions, this is a back to the tool here that we're using. My best suggestion to you is to not attempt to adjust registered Key 3 volunteer positions during the renewal window. What happens is on February 1st, when this opens up, some of those things get locked down for access privileges, right? And with your others, so get those done, get those in. If you need to adjust something, work with your registrar, Sherry Burns. She can probably work that out. For anybody else, shifting a person from a den leader to a committee member or assistant scoutmaster or something like that, just be careful. Make sure you do the adjustments carefully. You don't get too crazy with names in all these different places. We have seen issues in the past where people have tried to make lots and lots of weird changes. So do it deliberately, do it carefully. And remember, on the my.scouting.org position manager tool and the organization manager dashboard, if I remember right, only the charter organization representative or a delegate that they assign has the ability to change a registered volunteer's registered role. So keep that in mind. You can't do that as a committee chair unless you're also the charter organization representative. Remember that individual membership renewal is now separate from unit renewal. Those youth and adult individual renewals continue that way. They are individual. Now, some of our units are sort of doing that in bulk and doing that as a paid thing that they will handle. Ideally, all the individuals that are continuing with your unit before you submit your unit renewal will be paid, done, and opted in before you submit your renewal. Otherwise, there might be challenges. Just keep that in mind. Keep it clean. I have a pre-renewal checklist here. I am going to go through these quickly. I know it's a bit of a hot mess. I also have a document that has this in it. But first and foremost, to determine who your unit's paying for, right? If you have individual memberships that are coming due, who's going to be paying that? Is that the individual families? Is that the unit? Talk to each of your adult volunteers. Make sure they know what positions they are, their individual registered roles, possibly even their functional assignments if they're like the treasurer or something like that. Confirm their information. If somebody has moved, make sure they get their email address or their physical address, their phone number updated. Make sure they know which one is supposed to be primary. Verify each registered adult has that YPT or SYT training valid through April 1st, 2026. Do that by running the aging report, YPT aging report, I think it's still called. Confirm that every Key 3 and direct contact leader is position-specific trained. Use that trained leader report in the My.Scouting tool. And if somebody is not fully trained as a direct contact leader or Key 3, get on that. Start making those calls and sending those emails and reminding people to get that done. Verify that all your registered adults in the unit and every scout's parents can log into my.scouting.org. Everybody needs to have a valid working account, and that helps us with individual renewal, essentially. And then confirm that you've got all the youth and adults that you wish and who wish to continue with your scouting unit opted in. It's really easy to opt them out. Be careful with it though, because last year, once you opt somebody out, it took a professional to opt them back in. We couldn't just go and click it back in. The renewal tool, as I mentioned before, is open for us as of February 1st, 2026. Key 3 is the access. It's the same exact credentials you've used before to go renew your youth protection training. It's in your unit's organization manager. There should be a link titled Unit Renewal on the left side, especially if you're using a desktop PC of some kind. If you're on the phone, it'll be in a menu, a hidden menu of some sort. Not a good idea to try to do this on your phone, honestly. I personally recommend using the Chrome browser. It's what I've used for many years doing unit renewal. I've been told that other browsers and lots of operating systems work just fine, but this is what I've seen. So to go back to who can access the tool, this is a very gory breakdown of your charter org rep, your committee chair, and your unit leader. I'm told that also a Key 3 delegate can log in and use this tool and get it all done. Sign the form and process the renewal, and that is that. There is a slightly changed fee structure this year. You'll notice the council fee has gone up $5 from last year, but otherwise it remains unchanged. And if your individual renewals are coming up to date and they need to be renewed, this is something to talk to people about to make sure they know what scouting is going to cost. A few little details before we wrap up here. We cannot change the attribute of a person's primary registration. So if you have a person who is registered in multiple units, one of those is going to be primary and others will be multiples. We can't change that. For most of us, that doesn't really matter. The individual renewal is where the individual says, this is my primary unit. The unit renewal fee is the same as last year, exactly $100. There should be the similar payment options, credit card, ACH, or local council. And again, the deadline is March 31st, 2026. We need to get this done. A few review of our Big Rock topics. All of our adults need to have that youth protection or safeguarding youth training to not expire before April 1st, 2026. That's key. The Unit Key 3 and direct contact leaders must all be position-specific trained fully. Every charter organization must have an annual charter agreement ready to submit. Each unit needs a code of conduct filled out, signed, ready to go. Those small units need to submit a growth plan. Again, troops and packs under 10 youth members, crews and ships and posts under 5. Get those individual memberships renewed first if they're coming up, and get that done before you submit your renewal process. And finally, the deadline again, one more time, March 31st, 2026 by the end of the day. Get it done before April Fool's Day. I have a few links here, and I'll have that on a different page as well. Probably the best one is our council's charter renewal guide. They've got some good details on there, both for unit renewal and individual renewal. And that is what I have for you today. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate your time and your efforts. If you're in Pacific Trail, let me know if you have questions. If you're somewhere else, talk to your district commissioner. They can help you. Thanks so much, folks. Take care.